Well, folks, welcome back, and even with the Kentucky Derby having had to be postponed this year, it's still Derby time, and the only thing to really do right now is slow down, and the best way to do that is with the old Derby favorite, an ice-cold mint julep. Now, even though there are probably as many ways to make a mint julep as there are people who make them, and we could argue about the details all day, there is a central idea of what we think of as a mint julep because that's the way it's been within living memory. But here in Kentucky, it does not take horses running around in a circle to make us want to set out and have a mint julep. But if you go back far enough, it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with a silver cup, or even bourbon, or even whiskey. And as a lifelong Kentuckian, it took me a while to come to terms with that idea. We're going to explore them all, but before we get started up with all that, let's make what most of us think of as a mint julep before we go all the way back to the 18th century and work our way forward. My method actually started with the recipe on page 6 of the 1938 Louisville Women's Club cookbook, which I found at the Locust Grove book sale, that I then took and worked it around to get it how I wanted it in the end. So here's how I do it, and no need to dispute my method in the comments. If you know how to make a mint julep, that we do it differently and that we disagree is implied. So let's go get started. This is everything you're going to need to make your mint julep. One, of course, is the bourbon whiskey, and that is Old Bardstown. You can use any kind you like. I like the way that one in particular works with this beverage. Something to measure it in. You're going to need some sugar, some crushed ice right here. If you don't have a function on your freezer to crush that ice, not a problem. I don't either. Let me show you how I do it. Take a Ziploc bag, put the ice in the Ziploc bag. Seal up the Ziploc bag without any air in it. Drop the Ziploc bag into a cloth bag. Toss that sucker on the floor. Get your 2-pound sledgehammer and go to town until it is as fine as you want it to be. Also going to need about 6 sprigs of mint here. And keep one of your really stalky pieces, one of the long pieces, to the side. I'll show you why in a minute. Measuring spoon, spoon for mixing, straw for when we're done. Bowl to crush the mint in, and something to crush it with. Take 5 of your 6 sprigs of mint, set the other one to the side, and take the leaves, all the leaves, off of these 5. Crush the mint leaves. Again, don't forget, leave your other one separate. Should look about like that. Fill your tumbler, about half full of ice. Put 1 teaspoon of sugar on the ice and the mint you just crushed. Take your spoon, give that a good mix. You'll know it's getting good and where it's supposed to be when that ice starts turning green. With whatever you have to measure it, you see this is just one of those jelly jars that has ounces on the side. Measure you out 2 ounces of your bourbon, pour it in over the ice. Give it a quick mix. Finish filling the tumbler with ice. Get everything good and mixed up. Take your longer sprig of mint, put it into the cup, kind of agitate it around a little bit so you get that scent going. Put a straw into it, and what I like to do, snip that straw off right near where the mint is going to hit whoever you're giving this to's nose, and then they'll really pick up that mint flavor. And so there you have it, a classic mint julep as we think of them today, and you're ready to go. So I've got myself a real live transplant Kentuckian and bourbon convert here with me today to give me an honest opinion on what we're having. And so what do you think?
Well, reality is I'm very biased because you were the first person who made me a mint julep. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a mint julep. But I think it's pretty darn good.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, again, like I said earlier, there's as many different ways to do this as there are people who make it. So play around with it, see how you like it. Mm-hmm. And
I really like this way with the sugar, especially. I know most people use the syrup, but there's a wonderful effect that happens with something about the way the mint and the bourbon are rolling over the ice with the sugar.
Yeah.
It's both how it goes over your tongue and comes up through your nose. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, and what she's saying is using simple syrup is something that a lot of people do. It's a perfectly legitimate way. Using, as you'll see in some other cocktail videos that we do, using that granulated sugar is a little bit older-fashioned of a way I have found to do it in cocktails. So
Yeah,
so
I like it.
Tastes like summer in Kentucky.
You know, first one of the season.
Absolutely. It might not be the Kentucky Derby coming up, but it's still Derby time. So, and we don't need an excuse like Derby to do this. So. Here's to you if you're in Kentucky or beyond, and we will be exploring. After this, we'll be jumping back to the 18th century, and we'll be moving forward, actually finding out how the mint julep got to this point. So stay with us, and we'll be coming to you with that next.